Florida, the Sunshine State, everyone wants to live here. But as our population explodes, something else is exploding too. Real estate lawsuits. Developers are suing local governments more than ever before, turning Florida's booming real estate market into a legal battleground. I'm Santiago Cueto, board-certified international law expert and best-selling author. Why are we seeing this massive surge in litigation, especially over land use and zoning? It's a complex mix of intense demand, shrinking land, and a surprising amount of pushback from local communities. Stick around, because if you live in Florida, the legal war over dirt is shaping your future, your housing options, and even your property values. Florida's growth has been relentless. We're consistently one of the fastest growing states in the nation. People are flocking here for the weather, the economy, and the lifestyle. There is a problem. Land isn't being made anymore, especially in desirable areas like South Florida. Developable land is becoming incredibly scarce. The scarcity forces developers into what's called infill development, building on smaller, often challenging parcels within existing communities. Think old shopping centers being redeveloped into apartments, or vacant lots getting high-density housing. This is efficient, but it immediately puts developers on a collision course with existing residents and local governments. No one wants more traffic or towering buildings next door, even if the state desperately needs more housing. While Florida as a state generally promotes growth and development, many local governments feel the immense pressure from their residents to resist it. Despite the state's clear policies, some municipalities are taking aggressive steps to slow down or even to stop new projects. They do this in a few ways. The first is impermissible zoning regulations. Sometimes local governments try to enact zoning rules that are overly restrictive or even contradict state-level policies. There's also permitting delays. Developers can face endless delays in getting their permits approved, costing them millions of dollars in holding costs and lost time. There's also moratoriums. In some cases, cities implement temporary bans on certain types of development, effectively hitting the pause button on new projects. For developers, these actions aren't just frustrating, they're often seen as an infringement on their property rights. Developers argue that they have a right to develop their land consistent with the comprehensive plan, which are long-term blueprints for growth. When local governments deviate from these plans or impose arbitrary hurdles, developers often see no choice but to sue to protect their investment and their right to build. They're essentially fighting for their ability to build the housing Florida so desperately needs. In 2023, Florida passed the landmark Live Local Act, and its 2024 and 2025 amendments have been a huge talking point. The act was designed to tackle Florida's affordable housing crisis by offering massive incentives to developers. It allows for streamlined approvals, no more lengthy zoning changes for qualifying affordable housing projects. It allows for increased height and density. Projects can exceed local height and density limits if they include a certain percentage of affordable units. There's also tax exemptions, significant property tax breaks for these units. The intent was to cut through red tape and fast-track affordable housing. Sounds great, right? But here's where it gets interesting, and where the lawsuits come in. Many local governments view the Live Local Act as the state overstepping local control. While the act removes some zoning hurdles, municipalities are finding other ways to push back. They might leverage remaining local zoning codes like setback requirements or parking minimums to make projects difficult or financially unfeasible, even if they technically comply with Live Local's core tenets. The Act's language itself can sometimes be ambiguous, particularly around what constitutes mixed-use zoning. This ambiguity creates gray areas that lead to differing interpretations between developers and local governments, opening the door for even more litigation. Developers are suing to force compliance with the spirit, if not always the letter, of the Live Local Act, while cities are defending their ability to maintain local character. At its core, much of this litigation is about developers protecting their constitutionally guaranteed property rights. When a local government denies a permit, imposes unreasonable conditions, or downzones a property without justifications, developers can argue it amounts to an unconstitutional taking of their property without just compensation. They also argue that some local decisions violate their due process rights if they are arbitrary or not based on substantial evidence. For many developers, a lawsuit isn't their first choice. It's expensive and time-consuming. But in Florida's heated market, with land values soaring, denying or delaying a project can mean millions of dollars in losses. Litigation becomes a necessary tool to enforce state law, challenge what they see as illegal local actions, and ultimately bring needed housing and commercial projects to fruition. It's about forcing compliance with the rules of the game, even when some local players would prefer to change them. The rise in real estate litigation in Florida has significant implication. It impacts housing affordability. When development is delayed or blocked, the supply of housing shrinks, driving prices even higher. There's also the pace of development. Legal battles slow down much-needed projects, affecting job creation and economic growth. There's also legal uncertainty. It creates an uncertain environment for both developers and local governments as key interpretations of state law are hammered out in the courts. It's a clash between the undeniable demand for growth and the desire of existing communities to manage that growth on their own terms. So as we have seen, the courts are increasingly becoming the arbiters of Florida's future development. What are your thoughts on Florida's real estate land wars? Do you think developers are justified in suing, or should local governments have more control? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this deep dive insightful, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more real-world legal insights, and hit that notification bell.